Hey everybody, Eric Smith, Race Review Online, racereviewonline.net. You can also find me on Twitter at Eric_Race Review and on Prime Sports Network. Here today talking with the NCT IndyCar Series, the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix. The race will be Sunday for the Barber Motorsports Park on NBC, 3 o'clock. Coverage start, 3:30 green flag. This is the fourth race of the season. It kind of gets overshadowed a bit because it's the appetizer leading into the big month of May. Where everything takes place at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Plus with testing last week in Indianapolis, it just seems to be that race that they just get through to get to the month of May. However, it is an important one because every round is important in IndyCar. There's no playoffs. Points are tight, so you can't punt away on a race and focus ahead too far. You got to focus on what's ahead for the season. And Barber is this weekend, and we'll just kick things off with the 5 things that I'm watching because of that. One of those being, the first point, is actually an individual. It's Scott Dixon. Dixon, you think of IndyCar as historically one of the greats. I mean, you got A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, those type of names. But Dixon is kind of getting up there and beating them all in every statistical category. He's either first or second in every category in the NCT IndyCar Series. So you would think that as a guy with the second most wins, second most championships, Barber would be a place that he's been to victory lane before. Instead, he remarkably hasn't. He's over 12. He's actually one of 5 tracks on the schedule that he's never won at. St. Pete, he's over 19. Iowa, he's over 17. Portland, over 6. Laguna Seca, over 5. And for some reason at Barber, he just never won, which is remarkable. However, it's not like he hasn't been close. He's got 12 starts, 9 podiums. 6 of those 9 podiums were runner-up finishes. He has 2 second-place finishes his last 5 starts down there at the Alabama racetrack. What that was a third-place run in 2021. He was 5th the last 2 years. Those are the only outliers. So he's always in the mix. However, he's just never won. Can that translate to a victory this year? He comes in pretty steaming mad from contact to Pato Award in Long Beach. Talked to him at the test. Talked to Pato at the test. The two have not talked yet. Dixon's view, his stance doesn't change. He feels like race control should have penalized Pato. It was an egregious move. Pato feels otherwise. So we've seen Dixon with the fire before like this. You give him extra motivation, he comes out and dominates. So he's one driver I'm watching because that race last week dropped him to 6th in points. He was 3rd entering. He was 15 points behind coming into Long Beach. 2 weeks ago. He was 15 in points entering Long Beach 2 weeks ago. He leaves 38 points out. So he's one guy I'm watching. The next thing I'm watching, strategy. Barber's a place you're not going to get a lot of cautions at. I know I'll go over that in trends a little bit later. Actually, I could probably hit on it now while we're there. Somewhere in here. We'll get to it in trends later. But Barber it's a track that you only have a caution or 2 a race. So it becomes a race of tire strategy. This week we get the reds back on the street course races. We've had the green Guadalupe tires. Ovals, naturally, we don't have them. So Texas, it just was the primary tire all the way through. This week we get the Firestone Reds, which is the primary or the alternate tire, pretty much the last several seasons. That is back. However, does that change any? We haven't been on it yet this year. Tire fall off on the Reds is usually a key thing. They're built to go quick on a shorter burst, quickly fall off as well. Where the primary tires naturally last longer stints during the run. They're not going to be as fast early, but they're going to be faster later. That's where Barber comes into play. Who starts on what? When do they go to the alternate? And what do they finish on? The last few years, that's been a thing. Does that happen again? It remains being seen. That's why I'm watching strategy right this coming weekend. The third thing, the youth movement. Barber's been a weird place you think of veterans, which started off Dixon, Elio, Pagano, Sato, Power. Those guys won 5 of the 12 races. They've also won 8 of the 12 poles. Coming into last season, they won a pole in 5 of the last 7 years at Barber. The weird thing is, last year, none of them made it out of the opening round qualifying. They all started 13th or worse. What's wild about that is, coming into last weekend, Scott Dixon never qualified outside the Fast 6 in any of his 11 Barber starts. Power had 8 front row starting spots and 11 tries prior to last year, including 9 Fast 6. 10 of his 11 were 7th or better. Castro Neves, 7 Fast 6 appearances and 8 tries, worst start at 7th. They started last year, 13th Dixon, 16th Elio, 19th Power. Then you got a guy like Colt Herta, always a good qualifier in IndyCar. He started 10th. So then you throw in Pagenaud, 24th, Sato 17th. It kind of flipped the field in favor of the youngsters. In the Fast Six last year, all of them were under the age of 30. 3 of the top 4 starters had 4 combined poles. That was last year. Practice 1 last year, 22-year-old Herta was quickest. 25-year-old Pelot was second. Practice 2, 21-year-old VK quickest. 22-year-old Pato was second. 22-year-old Herta was third. You get to the podium on that race day when it matters the most. It was the youngest podium IndyCar has ever seen. 22-year-old at the time, Award was victorious. 21-year-old BK was third, and he led the most laps. The meat, the sandwich, was the 25-year-old Alex Pelot who finished second. So now that it flipped, do we see another youngster win on Sunday? So I'm watching the youth of the field because you got guys like David Malukas, Callum Ilott, Christian Lundgaard, Kyle Kirkwood's coming into the race weekend off of a win. So I'm going to watch the youth factor this weekend and see if they can steal a win on Sunday in Barber. And speaking of Kirkwood, which is going to lead me into my fourth of the 5 things I'm watching, let's just watch the Andretti Autosport team in general. They kind of re-entered the championship conversation in Long Beach. Because prior to that, they were nowhere. As we talked about, they were a team I was watching at Long Beach. 7 of the 8 cars, they have 4 cars each on the team, so 7 of the 8 cars being raced in the races, the 2 races, were crashed. They had quick cars, they just weren't finishing. Long Beach, they put it all together. They went 1, 2, 3 of the top 4 finishers. Now they're coming in with 3 guys in the top 10 points. They look legitimate. They have legitimate championship speed. Can they turn it into that is the thing, because they haven't finished 2 of the 3 races. The one they did good. So is it their turn to come in to Barber this weekend to win? We'll got a stat for that later again, another trend. Kyle Kirkwood, obviously entering win, got a pole last time out. Should have been Fast Six in St. Pete, so he's been good. Romain Grosjean's another one I'm watching. He's got 4 runner-up finishes in his career. He's never won an IndyCar, but he has a pair of top 10 finishes in Barber, including a 7th-place run last year. He's been good on these type of tracks, so can he turn that into a win? He had legitimate race-winning pace in St. Pete. He crashed with McLaughlin, bound into the lead. He led 31 the opening 71 laps. Texas was running the top 4 until it crashed with coming to the white flag. Then he finishes second in Long Beach. So can you put that all together and turn it into a win on Sunday? So he's one I'm watching. He's 7th in points, 39 points back. Colt Herta is another one. He's finished 7th and 4th the last 2 races. Interesting enough, though, he's not been great at Barber. So I'll see if he can turn that thing around. And Devil Day Francesco, I'm not thinking he's going to come out and win this race by any stretch of the imagination. But I feel like with these drivers and the speed they've shown, he kind of has to show me something. So I'm just watching Andretti Autosport as a whole. The final thing I'm watching is back to another individual, be Scott Dixon's teammate, Alex Pelot. You just get the feeling the drama is behind him now, because it started around this time last year, if you remember right, because he finished second in this race, 3 podiums, first 4 races. But this is when we started getting word that he might be looking to go elsewhere for this season that we're in right now. Ganassi got word, and that's when everything changed. And we know the drama. We've talked about it multiple times of what it did. But on track, they got 2 podiums for him in the next 12 starts. He just wasn't the same. I know his data was turned off. He wasn't getting all the resources, because why would they? Because there was a legal battle, and you didn't want a Honda driver taking what he's learned at a championship-winning team and taking over to a Chevrolet team that could use those resources and know what Honda's doing behind the scenes. So his year tailed off after this race last year. However, now things seem to be good again. I think everybody knows the plan. It seems like he's going to McLaren next year. Everybody's resigned to the fact. Him and Ganassi are getting along, knowing this is probably the last year together. That kind of started for the season finale last year, and he went out and won that race by 30 seconds. But then you look at what he's done this year. So he's carried it over. He was 5th in Long Beach. That's his 19th top 5 finish as his career starts. 8th in St. Pete, 3rd in Texas. So if you go back to last year's season finale when things are kind of getting good again, 3 top 5s in his last 4 tries. And I remind you what he did last year, the start of the year. 3 podiums, 4 races. He's in that mindset again. He's 19 points out of the lead and 3rd in the standings. He won this race as his first career IndyCar win in 2021. runner-up last year. What does he do this weekend? Does he go into the month of May again as a championship leader and come out and win this race? Again, I know I got another track trend that we're going to come into that's going to play a role in that. But since he joined Chip Ganassi Racing in that 21 season, 16 top 5 finishes, 15 of which were podiums with 36 starts. So he is definitely another individual I am watching. And now we'll go into the trends. Kind of teased it enough, so let's go into it. So if you're looking at who the pick between Honda and Chevy, the first 3 years it was all Honda dominated. That's because 2010 and 2011 they were the sole engine provider. Then it shifted to Chevy. They've won 7 of the last 10, including last year, but they ended Honda's reign because they won 2 the previous 2 races prior to Pato O'Ward's victory last year. So it seems a little more even. Granted, Chevrolet looked a little bit better last year, but Honda has still won 2 of the last 3. The caution stat, we've seen 2 or fewer cautions in 7 straight years and 10 of the last 12 overall. That kind of tells you not likely we're going to see a lot of cautions on Sunday, which is going to be a pitch strategy race of when to use the tire compounds. Another odd trend, Barber, for some reason, has allowed some underdog winners recently. Just twice in 11 years, and I say 11 instead of 12, because I know they've had 12 races. However, 2021, this was the season opener. So I'm not going to use this stat, and here's why. The points leader entering Barber, so in 21, there was no points leader entering, it was a season opener. The points leader has only won this race 1 time. That's it. So that's not a good omen for Marcus Ericsson this weekend. 9th in points last year with Pato O'Ward entering, he won the race. Sato in 2019 was 13th. And what's crazy is just 5 times in the 11-year history of this race, not counting, again, 2021. So we're going to go the other 11 years. 5 times the race winner was even in the top 5 in points entering. That tells you 6 times they're not. And I went back and looked. So you obviously had 9th was Pato, season opener in 21, no race 20, 13th in 2019. So you probably have to look at guys outside the top 5 in points that could actually end up winning this race on Sunday. The other weird thing is just 3 times did the Barber race winner end up winning the championship when it was all said and done. Pagenaud 16, Newgarden 17, Palou 21. So since 2013, 4 times in a 9-year span did the race winner even finish in the top 5 in points of the season. And so oddly enough, your podium finishers may not be the guys that are battling for a championship later on in the year. So that's another odd trend. Another one is we have seen different organization win the last 4 years here. Penske in 18, Rahal in 19, Ganassi in 21, McLaren in 22. Does that set up nicely for Andretti? That's why I teased that stat earlier. Andretti would seem the logical fit to do so. They've won twice, 2013, 2014. Both were by Ryan Hunter-Ray. They've also won the 3rd most times in the span on natural road courses, only trailing Penske's 8, Ganassi's 7. They've won 4. So they seem like the natural fit, the team, especially coming off of the last race. We've seen their speed. They seem like the natural fit to win this race on Sunday. But you've also got to look at the big teams, too, between Penske, Ganassi, and Andretti. They've been dominating the podiums on natural road courses. Out of the last 63 podium chances for natural road courses, those 3 teams have taken 52 of them. It's an 83% margin that a podium finisher, or the entire podium finishers, could probably be Penske, Ganassi, or Andretti, or a combo of the 3. Dale Coyne Racing is next best with 4 podiums in that span. Carpenter 3, McLaren 2, Rahal 2. So your podium finishers are probably going to come from the bigger teams, but it might not be the driver from those bigger teams that you expect. Which leads in the final point, qualifying. It's everything here. All 12 races have been won from a top 10 starter. 10 of the 12 races from a top 5 starter. 5 of the last 6 from a top 3 starter, including 4 straight. Natural road courses, we talked about the lack of cautions. That's why strategy is going to play a role. I went back to 2016 and looked at where the podium finishers started the race. First, 6th, 3rd, and 16. 17 was 7th, 4th, 3rd. 18, 1st, 4th, 5th. 19, 1st, 3rd, 5th. 21, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 22, 2nd, 3rd, 1st. Translation, the Fat 6 guys are probably going to be your podium. Who among them? That's where you look at Penske, Ganassi, Andretti. and you also probably want to look for an outlier among them. Grosjean's probably not going to get the favorite odds. That's why I look at him. I also would look at Rossi. He's been pretty good there. Pato Ward's teammate now. We saw what Pato Ward did the last year there. DK, I talked to him earlier in the week. He had this race won last year. Strategy kind of took him out. So I'm curious how he can respond. I got an article up on racereviewonline.net about that. So those are the guys we're watching. Those are the things we're watching. Those are some trends. So hopefully this kind of help you watch the race. The Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix, again, Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Thanks for tuning in. Next time we'll be on month of May. We'll have some live videos from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the second weekend of May's road course race, GMR Grand Prix, and then 2 weekends after that, the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500. Thank you.